It is time to do a breakdown and a cleaning video of the Beretta A300 Ultima. But let's get right into the cleaning. I got two of them here. I think we're gonna probably clean both. If not, it's just gonna be the Beretta. It's gonna be the Sport in the Ultima. That's the one, the black and green and gray. That was our company colors. I saw it on the shelf and I was like, "You're coming home with me." So let's get into it. All right. So we got both our Berettas here. Again, these are the A300 Ultimas. Both chambered in 20 gauge, and anytime you're going to pull your guns and bring them in the house, you should definitely make sure that your mag tube is definitely clear by inspecting it to make sure there's not one in there, and also to making sure your chamber is clear by looking down. Never look down the end of your barrel until you know 110% that chamber is clear, locked back. I can definitely tell this gun's unloaded. You definitely don't want an issue inside your home. Harm yourself, your property, or someone else. Don't want that. So first thing I did, again, I know that it's empty. So the first thing I'm going to do is you're going to pull off your fore end. So your fore end knob here, popping that off. Then right after that, the barrel and fore end grip come right off. Real easy, real simple. Expose that. This pulls forward. Pops right off there. Real simple. So next thing you're going to want to do is, so you got your charging handle here. Pull that out. It pulls out really easy. And the rest will come out here. Pull that out. Biggest thing is you want to make sure you don't lose anything. If you are a person that cannot remember how to do stuff, that's what these videos are really nice for, but take pictures with your phone. I've done that many times where when I pull something apart, I take a picture and almost point at it with something sharp, like even this right here, and say, this is what I pulled out, in like steps, so you'll see. I mean, it is somewhat important to understand what the names of these are, so if you ever do have to get apart without to look at it. So here you have the operating rod and assembly. Real simple, slides on the mag tube. You got your bolt assembly right here. So get your camera to focus here. And there's a lot of other moving parts here. We'll get into that as well. So within your bolt assembly here, you have your connecting rod right here. It's got this little almost like a little ball on the end here. All of this, you can tell right now, my fingers are pretty dirty. This thing's probably got probably 2 boxes of shells through it. Different lead and steel since I've cleaned it. That's just an approximate. So within your bolt, you have your breech bolt slide right here, which has that rod on there. This will get some gunk on there, as you can tell. You can see there's a little bit of wear there. So there's a pin, a retaining pin in there. Pop out if you ever have to replace it. Somehow this gets bent. You never know. Prying on it, trying to get a shell out of there. You never know. People do some crazy stuff. Okay, so within our bolt, we have our firing pin, which was inside of here, and we'll show you how to get that out of there. But before we pull it out of there, we do have you have your firing spring right here. You have your extractor right here. So this is something that over time, it would take a really long time, I feel like, for this. Let's get this focused here. For this spring to get worn out, but you never know. For some reason this gets chipped, you're going through the brush and does something. You never know. Stuff happens, okay? So right there's your extractor, which pulls the spent shell out and ejects as it comes back. Okay, so to get this firing pin out, so this spring right here is going to be under load, right? So what you want to do is you want to push on it, and then you'll see this little pin right here. And I use this right here. This seems to work on most of everything we do. It's a 1/16 pin punch, so it's got that flat end on it. Let's see if we can get it to, there we go. And what you're going to do is you push that out and be very careful not to lose that. That retaining pin right there is very small. And like I said, make sure you're keeping pressure on this on the back there, because that's going to want to shoot out of there. So there's your firing pin. And you're obviously going to want to inspect that. Chance of it getting bent, I don't know how big the chance is, but definitely could happen. Just remember how all this stuff goes back together. Again, you can revert back to this video if this video definitely helped you. So pulling the rest of this out of here. Pieces, and that's really all the rest outside of changing if you had to change your extractor, which, let me get this to focus here for you. So right there, that's the pin you would push out to remove your extractor, which there's obviously going to be a spring inside there, which allows it to move back and forth, which you would want to clean that. What I do is I don't ever mess with this. It's such a small area here. I'll just spray the solvent in there to clean it out, blow any debris out. I've seen people use air. They have like a water collector on it, if that's the correct term, to blow any debris that's in here that might stop this extractor from operating properly. So that'd be the way to do that. I'm not going to do that today because I don't need to. So all I'm using is a REM action cleaner. This is stuff I've been using since, like, I think this is the exact same stuff we were using when I was a kid, when I first learned how to clean my own pump shotguns. All works great. If you're ever worried, I always do this is on any gun, especially with all these new finishes that are coming out, is check in an inconspicuous area to make sure this doesn't remove any of your finish. So what I did notice on this, the reason I say that is on this, see how it's got these little swirls here on this gun? I got some on here and it was actually pulling it off. It was on my hand. So if you don't want to ruin your finish, be sure to clean your hands before grabbing this after you've been using that cleaner, because that cleaner is strong enough to mess that up. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so what I do with this, again, is go through and I clean this stuff all up pretty good. Spray it. Q-tips. I love Q-tips. I don't try to spin them too much so that I don't pull any, like, or you don't get those like little frays off the Q-tips. Go through there, and like I said, you can use air in here to blow any debris that's in there. I don't really see any. I don't think I have enough rounds. And I'll go through and clean all these, because you can get into all these little channels here. These little grooves, channels, whatever you want to call them there. And I'm not a gunsmith by any means. This is just stuff that you as a owner of a firearm should know. Because you need to be able to clean your own, be able to clean and disassemble and reassemble your gun properly so it's ready to go back in the field. So you go through, just clean this real nice. Paper towels, your best friend, I feel. I know there's probably better stuff for this, but this is what I've used and it works. So one thing I always like to tell people is, because I've learned the hard way, is, you know, our waterproof case, especially if you're a waterfowl hunter or you just have a waterproof case in general, do not leave your gun in that, especially after being out in any type of weather, because what'll happen is those things are, if they do them up properly, water's not going to get in there. So what happens is the moisture cannot get out. So over time, rust can build up on these guns. So just be real careful with that. And while I'm doing this, I'm just visually inspecting, make sure there's not like chunks out of anything, chips, anything cracked or anything like that. It would take a lot, but you just never know. It's always a good idea to just go through and inspect this stuff. Springs, that's what I've always done, especially with the spray. Hold it in place, you can roll it. Bigger springs, you can obviously run your cloth in between it. These smaller ones are a little bit more difficult. Again, air, I feel like this would be nice. Have a good hold on it, blow air through it, just see if there's any debris. Firing pin. One thing you want to do too is try to always work over a surface that you're not going to drop something, because if you drop this, and I don't know that it would do it, but if you drop this, it hit concrete or enough for it, a slight bend could cause issues. Just some little things to think about. Okay, so I've got all that stuff cleaned up in the bolt assembly. The one thing I've always used here is the Hops 9 lubricating gun oil. This stuff's worked great, because I feel like the sprays you're just going to put too much on. I feel like I said, you want to do always just a light coating, enough to keep the metal on metal friction happening, and excuse the sound above, that's where the puppy's at. So definitely need to get some more of this. What I'll do with this is I'll put a little dab somewhere on a rag after I clean my fingers of any nasty debris. And what I'll do is I'll dab it, and then you can coat. This is how I do it. I'm not saying this is the correct way all the time. There. And you can feel a pretty good coat on there just by what I just did there. That's just enough so there's not metal on metal friction. Same thing with all of our rest of our bolt assembly. See, I'm just putting a nice little sheen on it. This has always worked for me pretty good. Obviously oil it as you want. This is more of just how to disassemble it and just a quick cleaning if you're new to this, because we've had several comments where people have asked for these type of videos, so here we are. So any spot like right here, you'll see you got a little bit of metal on metal wear here on the back side. Just coating that up pretty nice. So it doesn't take a ton of oil for this type of stuff. You can put a little bit of oil on a clean Q-tip. Then I said clean. Just a little much there. And I kind of let it soak in there so it's not a ton going on at once. And then some of these tight areas that you need to get into is you can push and it'll kind of seep down into there, which is nice. You can, if you want to, dab a little bit in there, just a small dab, and then you can work it around as well. Because obviously this does rub. There's moving parts here. Inside here, remember we got moving parts in here. This is where our the back of our firing pin comes through. This is where I feel like air would be nice, is to blow through here. You can, before you do your solvent cleaner that has enough pressure, if you blow that through there, it'll blow any debris that's in there. Or you can use, obviously compressed air. I think those little bottles of air would actually work pretty good for like computers and stuff too, for a lot of this tight stuff. So I'm just making sure all this looks good, because again, these aren't cheap. I mean, yeah, they're around, that $1,000 mark for a firearm, which is nice, especially for a gas-driven. All right, so let's make sure we're putting this together correctly. So easy part for this right here, from the back of your bolt assembly. Down here, there's a little groove. It sits. So this is fire pin side. So this is the side it goes on. This just sits there. Hold like this. Firing pin goes through the back side here. Pushes through here. And obviously you got to make sure this is all lined up properly. And remember, if you let go of this back side, once it's in here, this firing pin is going to go flying. How I know this? Because I've done it. Just to be honest with you. So there's our little tiny pin. With that compressed all the way in, we push this down. Make sure it's seated properly all the way. So make sure that when it's upside down like this, that your firing pin will come all the way out, and then the pin will push your firing pin pushes all the way out so that it can strike your primer. So right here, one thing you gotta watch for too, this right here, this doesn't have like a retaining. This pin right here will fall out, so be very careful. Like I said, try to keep everything above a table, not on the floor where it can fall, go down a heat register, and thick carpet where you can lose stuff. If you do, obviously a magnet, but that right there, that pin right there, is one you gotta watch for. All clean and oiled back up. We can slide it back in the bottom of our bolt assembly here. So that's our bolt assembly back together. Slide forward. It'd be pretty hard to mess this up, okay? It just slides down in there. You can see it's gonna grab onto that right there. Boom. That's us up. It's firing. Should be good there. Okay, so that is it on our bolt assembly. Obviously same thing, continue, go through and clean all this tube out. Clean that out. One thing I did do, if this ever gets really dirty, is you can actually use your 12 gauge. You don't need to use your brushes. I mean, if you need to, you need to. But that soft one, you can run down through there. It'll clean it up nice and easy. This right here, make sure you're cleaning this. Clean this up and oiling up. We'll ask before how to take this off. So there is a tiny pin right. You'll see it. You'll see it if you can't see in the video. Right there, there's a little pin. You push that in just a little bit, and then this right here will. If you get it to, you can hear like a little click, and then you just unscrew this. This is how you get your magazine tube out. Remember, you got a spring in here. Boom. Spring's under pressure. Pull it out. I'm not going to really do anything with this because again we have enough rounds through it. So if you're not going waterfowl hunting or any other sport where you don't have to worry about only having 2 rounds in your magazine, especially for waterfowl, how you remove your plug, which is at your end of your plug right there that you can see, is right here. There's this little retaining, it's like this little clip here. On the other one that we have back here, I actually, because I wanted to take it out for conservation season, we didn't get a tube for it. I don't even know if you can get a tube for it, I haven't even looked. But this right here, you pop that off there, and then this will slide in and out easy by just pulling the foregrip. So, because I don't know if you could reuse that clip on there or not. but it's very important. If you pull this out, make sure it's accessible for you, especially if you're going waterfowl hunting. Make sure it's checked in there, because if your conservation officer catches you without it, obviously you're going to get a ticket. Okay, so that little clip right there, you remove that, and that'll allow this to come out the top without even pulling the gun apart. All you'd have to do is pull your foregrip off, the nut. Really easy to do. So you're going to screw this back in. So you're going to get to the point where it's going to grab a little bit by the spring. If you just kind of keep going with it, it'll let it roll. But once you get to that, your little pin that you had to push in, so I'll kind of show you here. See right that little black dot right there? That's what you have to get to line up into that hole. That'll lock out. So if it doesn't let you thread it down, what you need to do is you take your little tool here, whatever tool you got, push it in a little bit. It'll allow you to push it, and then you can spin it the rest of the way. One more turn, it looks like. And just enough where that bad boy can lock back, and just basically wiggle it until it locks back out. Now it will not loosen or tighten. So we know our plug's still in there. That's how you know if your plug's in your A300. If it's bare in there, that means that the plug was taken out. Your trigger assembly, what you should, to get everything out of there, there's your trigger assembly retaining pin here. If this is getting in the way here, just push so this is the side that when it's fired you'll see red. That's the side you're going to push from. Sometimes I forget. And then this bad boy, your retaining pin, will pop right out of there. Like I said, sometimes you do have to kind of work it and get it just right, and then that retaining clip will come right out of there. So that's what that looks like there. That's what holds your whole trigger assembly in. Then what you do, pull from the front here towards your mag tube and slide it forward, and it'll pop right out of there. So this I'm not even going to mess with because it looks really clean in there. I don't see any debris or anything like that. Say you ever broke your trigger guard or having issues with this, all these parts that are in this in these guns are replaceable. And they really don't cost that much, which is nice, and they're really easy to change yourself. You don't really need to take them to a gunsmith unless you're concerned that you're not going to do it properly. It's pretty hard to mess these up, to be honest with you. Just by looking in here, you will get debris inside here. Try to get it to focus a little bit. So you can see you got some debris down in there. Not much. So this, I don't just go buck wild with the ram action cleaner because I know now that this stuff will actually mess this up. So what I'll do is I'll put it on a rag and then clean it out, or I can go like this and spray down so it'll run out of the gun, not down into the stock, which can cause problems. So I'll do that real quick. So I did find a little bit of sand and stuff in there. Like I said, the air would be really nice because you can blow all the air out. Again, you want to make sure you have a water collector in there so you're not just spraying water in there into your gun. So you got your little rail inside there. This is oil down there. You can see where everything connects and holds. So before I put the trigger back in there, I make sure everything looks good, oiled up. It still looks, there's still a nice sheen of oil on the trigger assembly here. Everything looks good, no dirt in there. So put this back in here. You can see you just gotta kind of slide down. It's gonna be kind of a pain. Just gotta make sure you get this to line up right. Slide right there, you'll see the edge there. And right there. And you can actually look down in here to see if your the hole where your retaining pin goes through, you can actually see if it's seated properly. So the one thing that you will notice when you go in here is you have to push here to get that to seat completely where it needs to, because if not, this right here, it is going to get stuck and you're going to be frustrated because you can't get the pin to go on properly. So just push here, push up, get your trigger back where it needs to go, put your pin back in. This should go back in without having to, you might have to like put some pressure down on it, but it should slide right down in there without having to, you never want to hit on yourself with a hammer. There we go. Seated back all the way in there. So trigger assembly is back in there properly. So with this being a gas driven gun, you're gonna have a piston. So right here at the back side, so here's your spring. This is towards the gun. Is your piston right here. See how filthy that thing is? It does take it gets a lot of soot into it. And there's so many different ways to clean this. And one being, if you have one or know somebody's got one, ultrasonic cleaner is one of the best ways. Toothbrushes are really nice. So I've seen people that will have a jar of some type of cleaner and they'll let it soak overnight and then use compressed air to clean the all the extra debris off, and then obviously then put it back in the gun. So we'll just do a light cleaning on this real quick. I'm just going to use a solvent cleaner, and I'm going to go try to find an old toothbrush we can use and get this bad boy cleaned up. Right here, you'll get a little bit build up right here on this edge here. Just inspect your spring when it's off, make sure it's not broken. Obviously, if it's broken, it'd be a big issue. There's so many different mixed reviews on, do we run it dry or do we run it wet? Wet by meaning just a light coat of oil, just like I did everything else. So me, I'm gonna run a light coat of oil on there because there's really nothing that's moving a lot, obviously, inside of here, because you got your spring on the top there. But just so in case any moisture gets in here, that it's not just raw metal. Oil obviously helps. But again, if you put too much oil on anything, it's gonna grab all that dirt. It's gonna hold it in there. It's just gonna cause more problems. So again, I'm just gonna do a light coat of oil on everything. You just slip in just like this. Kind of gotta line it up, push it in there, boom. The piston's back in, now we can put her back together. So the easiest way I found to do this is right here, just like this. So hold it here. I'm trying to make sure you guys can see this. Okay, down in there's a little plunger down in the back side here. You gotta make sure that lines up properly. If it doesn't, it's not gonna go back together properly. Okay, down in the stock, obviously you have a spring that runs down in here, and there's a little plunger that you'll see that the arm has to go into. That's, you know, it's got that like little ball on it. So what you have to do is, like, I have to use a flashlight, and you just kind of just move the gun back and forth until you feel it, because if we're not going back, it means we're not there. So we need to make sure we're right center on there once you get that on there. So once we got it back there, we can push our charging handle in right there. That's this. Last thing I would do before I would put the foregrip back on is just a light, make sure there's a light oil on here. There already is a pretty good oil on here, just because if, you know, you're shooting up, shooting down, this right here, this will rub a little bit. You can actually see that it actually rides the rail a little bit. So just something, because obviously every time you fire, that's coming back, the chamber open and closes. Another thing to think about is don't let this ram forward, because your charging handle will actually hit the front right here and you can cause damage here. I don't know if it would be enough to cause damage, but just something to not get in the habit of. If you're gonna let it slide forward, don't let it slam forward, okay? No extra parts on guns. You do not want extra parts left over, okay? Before I put the barrel back on there, I almost missed it. All this gunk, get that cleaned out of there, clean it up with the cleaner, solvent, and then put some oil on there. Just a little light, again, a light dabbing in here. A lot of stuff you can see just came out of there. It's always a good idea to obviously run, if you need to run a brush, if it's really bad. Never hurts to run the brush up there, because obviously this is a smooth barrel. It's not there's no rifling inside this barrel. Put a little dab of oil on your choke, because these chokes right here, especially if you run the same choke all the time, they get moisture down in there. What'll happen is over time they will lock in there. I literally have my Franke Affinity. My buddy, actually 2 friends, have had their chokes lock into their gun, and it was just pure hell. I had to soak my Franke for like a week and a half with some of the best penetrating oil to break it down to get enough, and I had to heat it up. I thought I was gonna have to buy a whole new barrel because I couldn't get my choke out. So just something to think about. Make sure that bad boy is nice and clean down it. Visually inspect it, make sure there's no pitting on the inside or anything like that. If there's something that seems like it shouldn't be, don't ever hesitate, take it to your local gunsmith. Seems simple. So slide on your grip, the foregrip onto your barrel first. Slide there. I see. Pretty self-explanatory how this goes. Got to kind of wiggle it a little bit. So if it gets caught up a little bit, pull your bolt back a little bit. Make sure everything's seated all the way down. So it's very important to make sure that your barrel is seated all the way down. You'll see that it is. Don't let that slide all the way forward hard. Everything looks good there. And then your grip. Make sure your grip is in place completely, because if it's not, You can actually, how you're going to know is you look right here. You gotta make sure, very important, to make sure that everything is seated, barrel is seated completely, and your grip's seated completely. Screw it down all the way. Just get it there. Give it a nice little snug. Check everything, make sure that your grip doesn't slide back or forth. If it moves or pops or anything like that, you don't have it on properly. Everything's good there. Safety operates, pins, all my pins are back in. Look it out. Very good. One thing I'll show you, I talked about the magazine too, because I've seen somebody comment on that before. How'd you get that to come out so easy? So, like I said, it's that little clip that's in there. You'll be able to see this by just pulling the nut off. Here, see it right there. It's down in there. Then all you do is slide it forward. Over something where you're not going to lose it. Just give the gun a little tap here and there. It's not going to hurt it. And then you just pull your pin out. So now you're not limited if you're going to go out and shoot some clays or small game, whatever it be, where you don't have to worry about your capacity, your shell capacity. That's how easy it is. And then you just slide it back down in there. Again, this is the exact same gun. This one, it does need to be cleaned, so I'm going to clean this one real quick too. So that is a real quick video where I'm not talking a lot, you know, doing an unboxing, because obviously that takes more time. When you're trying to do something, I know, like me, I'm like, come on, just get to it. So that's exactly what this video is just a real quick how to tear the Beretta A300 Ultima down. I would imagine the regular A300 is probably pretty close. That's pretty much the gist, I'm sure, of most gas guns. It's going to be pretty similar, I would imagine. So if there's one you want us to try, obviously I got a lot of friends with a bunch of different types of gas and inertia guns. If you want us to do a video on how to disassemble, clean, and all those, definitely put in the comments. If we don't respond to it, which we typically try to, you can always email us, and we'll put that in the link in the description below. But I'm going to get to cleaning this other one here. This is my wife's. Last time this was used was during turkey season when she got her first Tom. So if you guys haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's pretty cool seeing her emotion. She was in tears, and I thought it was because she took a life of something, but no, just the adrenaline dump. You know, she's a nurse. That's what she does for a living, and she deals with a lot of stuff, and just that dump of adrenaline was just like, that was crazy. So you definitely check out that video. Thank you as always. We are almost at 14,000 subscribers. We appreciate every one of you. If you are not subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton, and make sure you hit that bell so you know when we upload. You guys have a good one. See you in the next one.